If you invite Katy Perry to the Coronation, and already, you know, her whole vibe is cupcakes and balloon animals, so you never know what you're going to get from her.
And then there's the viral clip of her trying to look for her seat. Don't watch a live stream of like me like hungover in the morning, like going into Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like trying to figure out where the line starts. I'm like, we all do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to Keep It, Crooked Media's show about pop culture and politics and what happens when they smack into each other at an alarming speed. I'm your host, Ira Madison III. I'm a television writer and Fall Out Boy fan.
I'm Louis Fertel. I'm a TV writer and Jane Fonda historian.
Let's get into it.
Believe it or not, we are back with Keep It. I'm Ira Madison III.
I'm Louis Fertel, and I just want to say that I'm sorry to you, Ira, today, because I heard you just received your draft notice to join the Rhythm Nation, and we'll never see you again.
That's where I was last week.
Yeah.
In the Rhythm Nation.
Oh, I see. It's a week-long boot camp sort of situation.
I saw Janet last night, and let me tell you something. I have never been in a better mood this morning.
First of all, there should be Janet songs that begin with, "Let me tell you something."
I mean, listen, Queen of Whispers.
Yeah. No, I assume she spent 3/4 of the show thanking her fans like this. And I just want to thank the fans. Nobody has ever cooed thanks more.
She's doing the whisper. She was everything. She was just like the Janet that you want. I'm like, first of all, I'm like stomping through New York City this morning, iced coffee in hand, new jeans. First of all, they're Gap jeans, so like I was also like hearing "Get Into the Groove" in my head.
Oh, sure.
I was listening to it.
Featuring Missy Elliott, yes. I remember the commercials.
How you get those jeans? Which, by the way, on the version that's now on streaming, they blur it out. They blur out the word Gap.
Wow. Who had that meeting? We can't give them this coverage. In this
Madonna's
weird
like,
remix song from 2003.
Madonna's like, cut another check.
Right. Speaking of that quickly, I was reflecting on when that biopic was supposed to be made. Apparently a big sticking point was how much money she wanted for it. You forget that at the end of the day, Madonna's all about the money, even though she just fucking tortured her knee again for this giant tour. If Mother's not going to make it to date one, guys. Anyway, back to Janet.
First of all, this concert was justice for 20-year-old. The album.
I literally, my first question to you was, did she just play the hits or did she like dig into the 20YO album?
Yeah, so 20YO is like, that's such a fucking good album. And I was recently talking to like my friend Carter about it, about how like it's sort of like I had gotten him to listen to it because I feel like you either sort of missed this album or you were a big fan of the album. Okay. And I feel like it's having a weird resurgence right now. And she was like really fun with like playing some stuff from it. She had this moment in the show where she said, I want to do something for all of you. I got to play some songs that I never got to play on tour before.
And the faggots just screamed. They did cartwheels.
She did like, show me. So excited. Do it to me.
Oh, great.
Like, I was jamming. And then she also did that Blackstreet song of hers, Girlfriend, Boyfriend.
Oh, yes, of course.
She started it, but then she said, I feel like y'all not grooving enough as y'all supposed to be grooving to this song. Let's start it over.
Wow. That's giving me Janet acting roles from the 90s. Lots of attitude. Okay, so she did 20YO. I assume she reverted back to the familiar hits.
Yes. I mean, there was the familiar hits. It was almost sort of Eras Tour-ish. Like she starts with some Demita Joe.
Another non-hit album, but all right, yes.
Right. She like opens with the song Demita Joe.
Wow. Which if you don't know, are Janet's middle names. And it was and sometimes it's important for an artist to make a middle name only album title. Who's the other person who did that? Brittany Jean, of course.
Yes. She and like Michael were very much this precursor to these artists. Madonna's like this too, right? They're like, you're going to get this song.
Right.
I don't care if you streamed it.
No.
You're going to get this song.
Madonna's like, I can't explain it. The song Candy Shop is really important to me, and I have to perform it 25,000 times.
But she did that, you know, she mixed stuff up a bit. But
and what percentage
Rhythm Nation, she closes with that, of course.
Great.
And she does Together Again 3 times.
Meaning what and why?
Well, because it's the Together Again tour. She ends with that. That's the encore. But she also does like the DJ Premier remix in the beginning,
okay.
and then she also does like the Jimmy Jam deeper remix in the middle.
A big important thing about Janet Jackson is she will wear large earrings, smile, and look to the left, which is what the Together Again video is about.
She also has, and this is honestly the one thing Michael could never do. She has this long-ass ponytail during the show, and she is whipping that shit all over the place.
You would think Michael would put it up into a high or low pony at some point, but he didn't. He left it the black mullet kind of phase.
She was really like feeling her black cat on this tour, okay? Also, one of the things I really do love about Janet, though, is that she has the microphone that's sort of like just attached to her head, you know, instead of like holding an actual microphone. I feel like the only person who could really do that is like Beyonce, because she's moving in ungodly sort of ways, you know? But like other people, you see them performing and try to dance and they're holding like a mic or something. It's like, let's give it up.
Right. Let the Barbaras be Barbara. Sorry. I learned recently that the reason those Janet-like mics headsets came to be is because Kate Bush innovated them. She insisted on finding a way to be able to dance and sing at the same time without having to hold a microphone, and she was the first to do that.
Well, while she was running up that hill, she should have been running up that patent.
That's right. She should have been told
that patent office.
Right. And you know she was probably lost in a fog the entire time she was doing it, too.
Someone is making money off of that now, too. And it's lost to history that she did it.
Right. No. She should be like one of those Hedy Lamarr type people that we hear about, where they innovated all this Bluetooth technology you don't know about and earned untold secret millions from it.
Baby, I only hear the name Hedy Lamarr when I listen to the Little Shop of Horrors soundtrack.
Okay.
A date with Hedy Lamarr or a guest shot on Jack Parr.
Oh, my God. I need to get into this show. We talked about this before during that Janet Jackson documentary when she was preparing to record Scream with Michael Jackson. Michael, there's footage of him saying, like, you got to put those Black Cat vocals on it. And that has made me really love the song even more since, knowing that he was obsessed with it. I didn't think he was such an influencer, if you will, in my life. But, yeah, Black Cat is really, you know, that hard rocking anthem you wanted from someone else who was like Vanessa Williams or Paula Abdul or somebody who else, but Janet got it.
I will also say the real fun thing about Janet is like, you know, she's still one of those global superstars, you know, and came up in the 80s. And so the ages varied at the concert. It was great seeing people just like in their old concert T-shirts to even younger fans just sort of like dressed up like Rhythm Nation-esque, like, you know, like everyone was just like there having like a really fucking good time. So I love Janet, fam.
I certainly would have been wearing my Boombastic with Shaggy shirt if I were there, which I would have made myself with puffy paint.
Also, when the concert ended, the DJ, as we were walking out, played that song Made for Now, which she did not even acknowledge during the concert.
Oh, Made for Now was off. She released it a few years ago. I remember
before like
Sirius XM The Groove
touring.
did a whole like channel for her a little bit where she just kept narrating her old songs, and they played Made for Now every 3 songs because that was the new song, and I kept being like, okay. and she was true. It was true. It was made for then, but you know, we've moved on.
It's very Target coded.
Yes, right.
It's very summer in New York. You know, it'll probably be on a playlist at a rooftop party. I'm lying.
Right. No. I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing it one more time, but I mean, like, get it off the playlist.
Speaking of New York, Kelly Clarkson is moving here. She's leaving you.
Traitor. Yes. And I had just seen her perform Since You've Been Gone with the star of Anne Juliet. What's her name? Lorna Courtney?
I think so, yes. I just saw Anne Juliet, which is very fun, very ridiculous, but also very moving.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
yes.
You know, it's schlocky, but it's like fun. And it's also nice to have, I guess, a jukebox musical that's for millennials now, instead of like, here's a new Broadway show with more Billy Joel songs, you know?
Right. I mean, we do have that Moulin Rouge musical too, right? Which we can't kill that, right? Yeah.
I don't acknowledge that show.
Baz Luhrmann ultimately should be punished. I do mean to say that. I don't think he should go unpunished. Yeah, Tony nominees came out last week, and you know what's so interesting is suddenly Sarah Bareilles is like one of the definitive Broadway performers of the past 20 years. Like she just sort of walked into that status, it feels like. She nailed it 3 times now, and I can't imagine Broadway without her.
Alyssa, she says she's not going to write you a love song, but what she will do
Listen.
is sing a Sondheim.
There are conditions. She's like, I'm not going to write you a love song. However, I will slay Jesus Christ Superstar because I don't know how to love him.
You know what? I would love to see Jesus Christ Superstar back on the Great White Way.
Yeah, I think it's about time.
I think it's first of all, it's a really good show. And, whatever they did with that John Legend thing on Fox or something. But, God, I just want to see someone belting those songs. You need a tenor, I'm a tenor.
Oh,
Just
you're
putting that out there.
Oh,
just putting that out there.
Meaning what exactly? They're just going to dial you up. That's how Broadway works. They're like, "Are you bored, podcaster? Come stomp the boards."
I think that's how it works now.
Basically, yeah. I'm sure it'll be half TikTok stars in like 3 years.
Well, the thing about & Juliet is it's like an update of the Romeo and Juliet story. The concept is basically that William Shakespeare is about to put up Romeo and Juliet, and his wife, Anne Hathaway, is like, this ending is bad, and kind of sucks. And so they're writing a new version of the play as the play is going on, and it starts with, Juliet actually took a fake killing herself poison, and she woke up, and Romeo's still dead, and now she needs to live her life.
Oh, that's cute. That's like the beginning of a wonderful streaming series too, I think.
Yeah. it's all the songs of Max Martin. So, Since You've Been Gone is in it. There's Britney, there's NSYNC, there's Celine Dion's That's the Way It Is, Bon Jovi's It's My Life.
Does Max Martin ever just read through his discography? Like literally go to Wikipedia and read down it just with a tear in his eye and think, well, I did it 55 times. Well, good for me.
And the book was nominated for a Tony. And the writer was David West Reed, who went to NYU with me.
Oh, well, you knew him, which means I'm rooting for him or something? Kidding.
I'm not. I'm kidding, David. I'm rooting for you. But you worked on Schitt's Creek. You have enough money.
Oh, no kidding. I think the big face-off this year is between Jodie Comer and Jessica Chastain, two of our most serious. Prima Facie
was amazing.
And
was amazing.
A Doll's House, which, by the way, among classic plays, might be my favorite to watch. In college, I watched a version of A Doll's House that I still think about, and it was just college actors. Like the dialogue is amazing. And we got 2 movie versions of it, one with Jane Fonda, a movie she says she wishes she could do over because she was in the midst of the Hanoi Jane era when that was occurring, so she couldn't devote her full attention to it. And also the version with Claire Bloom, which is okay. But we sort of still need the definitive movie version of it. So if Jessica Chastain were willing and able, and I have the distinct feeling she is, we should get that.
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
Oh, really? Is it still Jessica?
Yeah, it's still Jessica.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like Hope Davis yet or whatever. Who did I just randomly decide to insult? I'm sorry, Hope Davis.
So she'll still be in it up until, Tony voting's done. At the award ceremony. But, I love when something doesn't get a Tony nomination and
they're just stuck there.
Canceled swiftly. Like Bob Fosse's dancing.
Right. Bye now. Yeah.
They were like,
shuffle on out.
It's over.
Yeah. You're Gwen Verdun.
Get out of here for Encino Man the musical.
Ira, who the hell is on this show today?
We have the wonderful Ginger Gonzaga on the show today. You're going to get to listen to us catch up and reminisce because, spoiler alert, when I first moved to L.A., I was her dog walker.
No way.
Yeah.
First of all, you being responsible for a creature is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. So I get to call this woman stupid to her face.
I love taking care of dogs, other people's dogs.
It's giving Cruella.
I don't have the lifestyle I want. Even though I was raised with dogs. Like, I love dogs.
Oh.
I just, I don't have the time.
I was not raised with
devote,
dogs. Everyone in my family is like, I just don't know about them.
You got to be hopelessly devoted to a dog,
I would name a dog Olivia Newton-John, so that does speak to me.
I see that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Olivia Newton-John, she performed at the King's Coronation.
I don't believe she did, but okay.
Everyone else did.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that for some reason. I don't give a fuck about those Brits.
Unfortunately.
But
Also, the main photo of King Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, I mean, it looks like a child drew it. It's like a child's idea of what royalty looks like. They look like playing cards.
And then because we love trending topics and SEO.
Staying current, yeah.
People have been talking about TV shows that they claim that they were the only viewer of, TV shows that flopped, had like 6 episodes, but they watched every single one. We're going to talk about some of our favorite shows that maybe we were some of the only viewers of, and movies too, that were bombs that somehow we remember fondly. A monumental event took place this weekend, Louis.
Are you in tears? Listen to you.
I am. Taylor announced Speak Now, Taylor's version.
Finally, we get the version of Mean we've been waiting for.
I'll tell you one thing. That girl better keep Better Than Revenge as it is on that fucking album, okay? I want her slut-shaming that bitch who fucked Nick Jonas or Joe Jonas or whoever she was dating at the time. But I want the scandal, okay?
Right. No, she can't be releasing songs called Karma and then not keep the petty vindictive songs. Sorry.
Also, she's like dating Matty Healy from like the 1975 now. I think we're going back to basics with Taylor again. Back to, she's walking the streets in New York with her squad again. I think we're going to get classic Taylor. She needed a break for a minute, and now she's like,
I'm back with the jump off. Wow. That's too bad
Your
that we both went there.
song.
Yes, I do love it. You almost said Taylor had swag just now, and I'm going to have to cut you off there. You've been drinking.
You know what? She hops up out her bed and tries to turn her swag on, and the dial doesn't really go all the way to 100, but it's like in the 40s.
Yeah, it's a Metacritic 76. Yeah.
White girl swag. Sort of like some of the white women I saw grooving to Ludacris, who was the opener to Janet, by the way.
Oh, who I bet was great.
He was fucking great and like a really good crowd worker, but it was just funny getting drinks before the concert behind this group of like 5 white women, and one of them was playing Ludacris songs on her Spotify for the other women as we're waiting for the elevator to remind them of songs. And she was like, you guys remember this one, Act a Fool. It was on the Too Fast, Too Furious soundtrack. Took everything in me not to cackle.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. Also, it's like you don't have to do that much homework before a concert. Anyway, let's move on to the coronation.
Yeah, sure. I was obviously talking about the coronation of King Charles. The coronation of King Charles happened this weekend, and, his girl was there.
Right. Looking, blown out. I mean, and also, Camilla Parker Bowles' look, for me, is giving Glenn Close and Mars Attacks. The head of state who's there, and it's shot blonde, and something in the pupils is dilated.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. We keep making asides because we really don't give a fuck about these Brits, but I must tell you, I went to Cafe Cluny in New York this past weekend, which is Glenn Close's favorite spot.
I didn't know those were ranked. I should have known that.
Yeah. No, truly, like if you go back and read every profile of her from like the wife era, it always starts out with sat down with Glenn Close at Cafe Cluny.
Oh God, that is what is valuable about those profiles. You find out where these people hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there with my friend Ben Richardson, and we sit down. And she has her dog in her lap, and like, you do the friendly like, oh, nod. I'm like, oh my God, this is Glenn Close. You do like the nod, you like say hi to the dog, etc. Then I sit down. We're talking. She interrupts me and Ben.
What?
And says to me, I recognize you.
Oh my
somewhere.
God. I'm sorry. I actually have to leave the podcast now. I'm no longer a podcaster.
And I think maybe we've tried to book her before or something, and maybe she's just seen clips of the show or something, but she was like, you're an actor, like, you're on a thing, you're talking.
Oh, my God.
So she's probably seen us.
Bone chilling.
Definitely. Glenn, come on the show.
Yeah, I interviewed her once at the Oscars in the phalanx of reporters right before The Wife, where I basically said to her, now go in there and win that Oscar, right before she, famously didn't. But God, I mean, like, yes, please, Jesus Christ, come on, keep it. Oh, I mean, she's an untouchable legend.
The moment ended, she had already eaten and she was getting up, and I said, I just have to tell you, my grandmother had this VHS next to the TV, and I watched it maybe 20 times. She thought I was going to say 101 Dalmatians.
And I know you're about to say Jagged Edge.
I said, ma'am, it was Jagged Edge, and she was like, Jagged Edge. She laughed, but then she stopped, and she was like, That was a really good script.
You know what I'm going to ask her about? House of the Spirits, the movie she did with, which was a huge book at the time, and it's the only movie she's done with Meryl, and I want to know if that script was better than what came out of it. Anyway, The Coronation, which is what I'm extremely concerned about, and lives
so
are going to be
excited to talk
altered
about-
and changed based on what we say about it.
We're so excited to talk about The Coronation. Baby, this is for Snapchat, okay? This is for the clips.
I will say about The Coronation, I had underestimated how fun it would be to watch the wives of heads of state arrive. Like, that's what it's all about, actually. Like, I'm not super engrossed in the, oh, Harry's there putting in an appearance. What does that mean? Did he do anything backhanded? Is Meghan Markle secretly, dressed in a Groucho Marx-like disguise so she could sneak in or whatever? But meanwhile, it's like, oh, Dr. Jill Biden, you kind of have to come to this, and you chose a little look for it, and it's a little fancier and stuffier than you would normally pick, and I want to know about the meeting that led to it. She and her granddaughter, Finnegan Biden. By the way, I guess there are just like 4 Irish words that we recycle, and you have to be one of them. And her daughter, Harp Biden.
Dr. Jill is in Ralph Lauren. She's looking good.
Yes. Also with of course, a nude pump, which means it is a business day.
She loves a nude pump more than Camilla loves a silk press, okay? Like, they are just... I would love to go shopping with Dr. Jill and Camilla, okay? You know that they are having a good-ass time at Bergdorf's, at Nordstrom.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly where they belong. By the way, and then, of course, Emma Thompson is also there, looking like, retired English professor, which is basically what she is to me after having seen her in The Amazing Wit, which I feel like people don't watch anymore. But look up Mike Nichols and look up Emma Thompson, and this coat is sensational. Of course she would be at the Coronation.
Yeah, Emma Thompson is... The jacket is definitely giving, Cruella.
Right. A movie she was in.
Oh, gosh, she was in that movie. I don't remember much of Cruella. That's definitely one of those pandemic films where I was stoned as hell, and it feels like a fever dream that it even existed, / that I watched it.
No, there are a certain category of pop culture items where I just associate them with the pandemic, and so I get a little glum whenever they come on or whatever, and I always think that way about Kylie Minogue's last album, Disco. It's like, do I like that album? I don't know. I think about, rolling in a house with my friends because we had nothing to do.
I mean, speaking of the fucking Brits, right? Whenever people are talking about Bridgerton and, like, this new spin-off Charlotte, I'm like, we're still watching that?
Right.
I thought we all watched it in one day during the pandemic and then never watched Bridgerton again. Right. But apparently, it has stands.
And apparently that new show is good, though. I am sort of looking forward to it. Okay, back to the Coronation. You know who else was there? Joanna Lumley. AbFab representation, very important to me. But I want to say it's more like Dame Joanna Mumsy today because I don't love this dress. What is the collar? It's giving Madeline.
Justin Trudeau was there, and looking at the photos, I am stunned to discover that Sophie Trudeau looks like Mandy Moore.
She looks exactly like Mandy Moore. And she's wearing sort of a dusty rose in the way that I would associate with Mandy Moore.
He looks good, too. I mean, he didn't really try. But, you're not really supposed to try if you're a head of state anyway. And are we allowed to still think Justin Trudeau's hot? Hasn't he done, like, awful things lately?
I believe you're allowed to think he's hot, but I think also it's like, don't bring him up around Jane Fonda. She'll school you about the pipeline.
She's like, let me tell you something. I know how to blow it up.
Honestly, if anyone does.
Well, I mean, obviously, the viral arrival was Katy Perry in Vivienne Westwood. She looked fucking stunning.
Okay, I think she looks great. I think maybe the hat's a little bit overkill. But also, if you invite Katy Perry to the Coronation, and already, her whole vibe is cupcakes and balloon animals, so you never know what you're going to get from her. You should expect something shall I say, whimsical from her. I think it looks great on her.
And then there's the viral clip of her trying to look for her seat.
Good. You should be slightly debased at this, too. You know what I mean? There is something ridiculous about this whole scenario. So I like that there would be some confusion going on.
It's like Katy Perry, but, I would buy that she did that on purpose because it is Katy Perry.
Right.
But 2, I'm always reminded of, like, certain things like that are live streams, right? Like, for celebrities and things. Like, don't watch a live stream of, like, me, like, hungover in the morning, like going into Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like trying to figure out where the line starts. I'm like, we all do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, right. underrated look. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, she walked in this green cape thing with this, I'm going to call it Paul Revere hat, but what she actually looks like is the moment before M. Bison starts fighting in Street Fighter and he whips off a cape and then, suddenly gives you the this. Anyway, Princess Anne looks like a fucking baller.
And let me tell you something. Ugh, I am always imagining this couple having sex. I am so sorry. But the Macrons?
Please.
I mean, Brigitte looked fucking great too. She was in Louis Vuitton, like this cute pink number. He always looks good too. I mean, what French people don't?
He's giving the role of Michael Sheen's Lifetime, I feel. Also, people who really go head to toe one fucking color, that's a I'm here to win vibe. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing a little mix and matchy thing. I didn't shop for this at the mall. This is one color. I am a Crayola fucking bitch.
Like the purse is too. She came to deliver.
Yes. Lionel Richie, I see you showed up.
Yeah. He also performed. Lionel Richie looks... I love Lionel Richie.
That's an Oscar win I can't abide by.
What did he win for again?
Say You, Say Me. And he was up against The Power of Love from Back to the Future. And Huey Lewis, that's a Harvard grad, I believe, it actually counts as underrated.
Both really good songs. But, Say You, Say Me is that hits me.
Oh, wow. You're defending Say You, Say Me now.
I just
Put on the movie White Knights. Tell me how that holds up.
The only white knights I like are in the KKK, all right?
Thank you for sassily owning me, all right? That's what you like? Well, anyway, let's talk about swag.
I have never seen the movie, but I like the song. I think it's aged a little bit better than Hello, because I feel like American Idol ran Hello into the ground.
Oh, I don't like Hello. The best Lionel Richie song, I mean, I would go with something Commodore's era, probably. But no, of course we love him. And also, he looks the fucking same as he did in the 80s. He's one of those people.
There was this insane tweet about his daughter, Sophia Richie. She was getting married. It was like, Sophia Richie is the blueprint. I would like to remind people that she is Nicole Richie's sister. That would actually make Nicole the blueprint.
Yeah. There was one that came before. So if it's not
Pop
the first thing,
culture
it's not the
existed.
blueprint. Right, yeah. There are basic rules to what a blueprint is and is not. Prince Harry, you know what? He wore those medals like they mean something. I understand he was maybe in an army or something once upon a time. Good for him. He showed up. He did not flash a single smile, and I'm happy about it.
Just like when he was on the field.
That's right.
Killing people.
Oh, and the polo field.
Yeah.
Knocking
he killed
balls.
people on that too.
Yeah, right.
He killed people on that. He was playing polo. He was like, are you from Afghanistan? It's time for you to die. He looks so glum. And it's like, baby, kill me if I'm looking this glum after I just published a book, okay?
Right. No, there should be tell-all magic coming off of you. Like if Cicely Tyson were still alive today, she should be absolutely effervescent. She died, but she should be.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's very much what you should be expecting after you publish a memoir or any kind of book that's about the people in your life, right? That's classic. That's a classic storytelling device, like you write a book about your family or friends, and then you have to be at a big party where you're confronted by them again. This is the first time he's seen them since that book came out, and people have something to say.
Right. It should be fun. He should be there in sunglasses with his tongue out like a fun golden retriever, just like lapping it up. Catherine, Princess of Wales, and I have underestimated that she is the Princess of Wales, is in Alexander McQueen, and she's not fucking happy about this. Oh my God. Speaking of the clan, is given the Grand Wizard. Look at this outfit.
Nicole Scherzinger also looked great too.
And she performed, correct?
Yes, she did. That's all I really care about here. Nicole Scherzinger.
I had the feeling she's more moderate than I'd like her to be. There's something that prevents me from standing Nicole Scherzinger, and it's not talent. She's obviously extremely talented. I love her solo song, Don't Hold Your Breath. As I said previously on this podcast, there is not a bad Pussycat Dolls single, and as we know, she literally is basically the only Pussycat Doll. The other ones were there to mime the idea of singing while doing ecclesiastic shit.
Can I say two crazy facts about Nicole Scherzinger?
Yes, please.
I don't believe I've ever told you. One, her very hot boyfriend, maybe fiance, Tom Evans, who's like a former rugby player, inexplicably follows me on Instagram.
I love when you get somebody that random. It's like, what did I do to deserve this? I'm sure it was a fickle choice. And what can I do to end this? Yeah.
I'm always looking to be like, did he unfollow?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
no, some people you have to
but he
check in
hasn't.
on. This is how I feel about Cynthia Nixon. I'm worried.
I hooked up with someone once who had like grew up around Nicole Scherzinger. I guess they were friends with her.
First time I've heard of her having a friend, but going on.
In the morning, I'm talking about how much I love Nicole Scherzinger because he likes Nicole Scherzinger. He FaceTimed her from bed.
Excuse me. Uncalled
She's,
for.
like, doing her
Alarming.
She's like doing her yoga routine.
In hour 1 of 4, I'm sure.
Anyway, that's my very wild Nicole Scherzinger story. And I was like, hi, I'm a stan.
Yeah, no, in that case, I mean, I guess I am a stan. All of the various, please,
The dolls were dominating, okay?
I remember it very well. Her performance of Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, fabulous. Andrew Lloyd Webber was enamored with her.
I still remember her performance of Whatever You Like, where she's being moved around in a big box. I think it's on So You Think You Could Dance.
There was some not viral clip of her recently performing on what looked like a very tired cruise ship in front of 5 people who I want to say were waiting to jump off the cruise. Like, that was the whole reason they signed up.
That was just Triangle of Sadness.
I mean, it was a quadrangle because she was there too.
All right, are we done talking about this coronation shit?
I just have to say, like, the name King Charles III just doesn't light me up with endorphins, fortunately. You know, there's no real upshot to this. We're in this, like, sort of intro. I'm sure somebody rad will come through, you know.
We're still doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's also so weird because, like, Elizabeth was hanging on for dear life.
Right.
Like, so they haven't even done this shit in, like, almost 100 years.
Correct.
So,
No, she kept almost dying, and then she would, like, fall into a dive roll like Willy Wonka. And say, just kidding, slay. See you next year.
it'd be a little different if any of us had grown up seeing one, you know?
Right.
But
you're right. If it was like the Olympics or something, like every 4 years we got one of these, maybe there would have been a sense of occasion, but we kept being like, is this important? We don't know.
I know that palace is musty.
Right. It's too tall. When rooms are too tall, they're depressing.
And you know they don't use lotion up in that palace.
Oh my God. No.
There's not a single bit of cocoa butter.
No. That said, I'm looking at Catherine, Princess of Wales, and I am seeing Keel's points. I'm looking at them.
Well, I'm happy for them. Camilla finally got what she wanted. She's the queen. She held on for a long ass time. Okay? That is...
And the grin is wide. She's like, bitch, I made it.
If it takes that damn long, people are like making all sorts of jokes online about, you know, like, hope just gives hope to side chicks, whatever. I'm like, girl, is it worth it?
No, it took her 50 damn years.
Around. You gotta wait for this bitch to die in a car crash?
And then another 30 years?
Come on. We'll be right back with the delightful Ginger Gonzaga. You know our guest today from everywhere. She's been on Kidding, Wrecked, Space Force, and it's also been blowing up this year and literally blowing up things on True Lies on CBS and truly a fan favorite on She-Hulk, which I adored. Please welcome to Keep It, the wild and hilarious and stunning Ginger Gonzaga.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Hi. So happy to have you here. And I also have to start this out. I told Louis at the beginning of this episode, I used to walk your dog.
I know.
And that is how we met.
I know. And I was telling my my publicist, I was like, he walked my dog Gambit before he was a sensation. And I just remember I remember you being like, hey, do you want to come to my play? And me thinking that I was such a gracious person and being like, let me go support this young man in his play. And then I went and it was brilliant. And I went home to my partner at the time and I was like, that is like the 1 out of 20 times that you go to someone's thing and you're like, oh, they're like super talented. And I was intimidated and put to shame. I was like, oh, wow, Ira is special and he can write and do all the things.
Now, what was the quality of the dog walking, though? Because I'm concerned about Gambit and his livelihood.
No, we're going to be real. No. Gambit was always happy. He loved Ira. He really did. He felt comfy, cozy with you. So
I know. I loved Gambit. And Gambit was he was a very finicky dog. So
yes, he's a silly
always
old man.
afraid of things too.
Yes, I know. And he's like 15 years old now. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to talk about True Lies, which as of 12 hours ago is now effing canceled. I can't believe it.
I know. Listen.
But talk about working on this show and also stepping into, truly one of the few 90s films that I feel like anybody remembers anymore. You know what I mean? Like Ira and I sit here and talk about the 90s all the time, but it's like it's like you're watching the atrophying brains of everybody as like more and more movies sink into the deep past, never to be revived.
I know. I think about that with like, I don't know, things like the Beatles, where like I'll talk about the Beatles and people are like, what? Like I'm realizing like just time is passing and things are that I thought were so iconic are like, oh, what? The Beatles? But and I'm like, oh my goodness, my soul. But I grew up like super sheltered Christian and we only had 5 movies, so I never saw True Lies, but I did see Mrs. Doubtfire, Sister Act, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, things like that. And so I had never seen it, but and at the right before my doing it, like it wasn't on Hulu. Like I had to personally buy like a DVD player, get the DVD off of eBay. And then I committed to not watching it before I did the pilot because I was like, well, I might as well continue and not be incepted by her performance or judging myself with every move and being like, oh, I can't do this because Jamie did it. So it was just like this brand new thing for me, just by some luck that I was sheltered.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did make you cut your hair, so there's that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like short hair era Jamie Lee Curtis.
The shortest hair, yes.
That on me is not so cute. I think Jamie looked amazing with short hair. I look like, I don't know, another version of Blanket Jackson or something. If he ever got his hair.
A Jackson that should be referenced more often. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Blanket. I think he even changed his name. But I thank God. Oh my goodness, because now it's canceled, and I'd have this weird short hair still that I would be badly committing to, hoping that maybe there was another season walking around. I already get mistaken for different genders all the time, so I don't know if a really short haircut would have helped.
Now, did we do that to you? Did us striking do that to you? Did we get the show canceled?
Listen, as a WJGA eligible person, no, I don't think the striking did it to me. I think 10 p.m. on Wednesdays, and I don't know. It was a fun show to do. We were very like ragtag, and I was just telling my friend that like it was ratchet. Like I was buying my own wardrobe. Like they wouldn't buy clothes in my size, and then they would be like, "Well, here's this thing that maybe my sister used to own, and we're gonna shrink it down to you." It really was ratchet. Like we would joke that it's like ratchet Hollywood. But
well, let me tell you, I did So Help Me Todd for a bit of that first season, and CBS is cheap.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's really wild. And but I loved it because I love my cast so much. And then also like our showrunner wasn't in town, and I love just going rogue. And especially if like mom and dad aren't there, then I can just improvise whatever I want and kind of change the course of things. So I was like, listen, I signed up for a comedy, so I'm going to keep adding stupid jokes everywhere I can. And they made it in. So I was like, this is fun for my brain. And I really did love everyone. So I'll miss them.
The Jenna Ortega tactic of just being like, I have some joke ideas.
I know. You know what I love about Jenna Ortega is because she's only speaking the truth. And I think it's so funny that some of these like older execs are like, oh, she's speaking out of line and blah, blah, blah. But I love her youth and just like not knowing that there was ever like a really evil patriarchy that would get mad at women that said stuff like that, when she's just there to kind of like help the process and her character, and like, and it's not even like the writer's fault. It's like, how they run rooms now. It's like you get 2 seconds to write an episode. So it might not be there. And if she's defending her character and saying what she needs to do to punch it up, which by the way, did benefit the entire thing, then like more power to her. I don't know why people don't just like let it exist like that. Most of the shows I've been on that let me improvise, they're just like, yeah, go for it. And it's great, like, and we all win. And I wrangle myself when they want me to, but I liked watching her talk about that.
Well, so speaking of like, the writers and the strike and everything, you were in SAG. And I mean, listen,
Wow.
I've always loved that you always speak your mind about everything. As long as I've known you, you've always been like, you know what? I'm going to tell the nanny something.
No. I'm like, the nanny is our president. It is just, I'm sad for actors because I think I tweeted like 5 months ago, because you guys have it together. Like the writers are like, they're like, this is how we're going to strike. And the leadership is in charge of it. And you kind of know for the past year, they had signs the day it happened, that's like a pre-planned thing. And with many meetings and lots of communication. And a lot of actors kind of just don't know what the deal is. And they think that it's really glamorous and I don't know. So I guess I'm just like, I tweeted like 5 months ago, like, I don't know why the actors aren't planning on striking. And people were writing back to me, why? What happened? And I'm like, oh, like, that's such an uneducated response. Like, what do you mean what happened? Like, streaming happened and we don't get paid for it. I'm on 2 internationally like airing shows and I don't get paid for that. True Lies and She-Hulk air internationally. And if this was Everyone Loves Raymond back in the day, I would have $5 to $10 million. But instead, it just airs for free, and I don't get paid for it. And I buy my own clothes for my job. Like, so I don't know. I just like, I'm bummed that there's like a lack of info. And yeah, I'll always speak the truth.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it back to even CVS, right? It was like Bob Hart's Abishola. They announced that they were getting rid of recurring cast members, basically, and they're
or demoting them to recurring cast members.
Demoting them to
recurring. Yeah. So that's going to start happening industry-wide.
I know. And what makes me sad is that has been happening to a lot of diverse actors for a long time. And I fight against it a lot. Like, I quit Grace and Frankie because I could tell that they were trying to write me into the next full season and still only pay me as a guest star. And that's happened to me so many times where they hire these people and they're like, oh, we ran out of the budget because we paid all of our Caucasian actors and you're here, we need you, but we're not going to pay you. So it's been my friend was joking like, oh, they're treating actors now all like Indian men. And I'm like, I know, because this has happened to him as well. So it's been happening to a lot of diverse actors, and then they get away with it because there's so few opportunities that sometimes you have to take those jobs. Or I would agree to do that and then work on multiple shows at the same time, which is like really exhausting. But then now they're just getting away with it with everyone, and it's a real shame. Everyone on Bob Loves Abishola, like, they have families. They've also had a certain income for a while and they've been living that life, which they deserve to live. So if all of a sudden you're like, JK, you don't make that anymore, and there's a writer's strike, good luck finding a job. Like, it's awful. But the money is there. Like, for 15 years, there's just a pile of money that hasn't been going towards residuals, and it's just moved. And it doesn't respect any of the artists, or IATSE should have gone on strike. And everyone has value, and the art of what we do is so fascinating. And there is money to go around, and those studios can still make a bunch of money. They can still be very rich. It's fine.
It seems like you don't want David Zaslav to have a golden basilica dome on top of his house, and
I know,
I'm upset with you.
Such a brat. Golden basilica. I know. First of all, because it's tacky. Second of all,
they are not concerned with that.
I know.
No, wait. I also want to say that, Ginger, you kind of did my job and Ira's job once upon a time. You were on a daily Hulu pop culture show, and it had a couple of my favorite pop cultural people. One of them was Dave Holmes, who hosts the podcast Homophilia. Nobody knows more than him. I love his writing so much. I will tout him whenever possible. But just, what was it like being having to report on pop culture every day? I mean, like, did it feel like working for a newspaper or something, where you have to like get up and like read the trades and figure out what to say about it, etc.?
It was so fun, and it also kept me ignorant. It kept me from being really ignorant about pop culture, because otherwise I wouldn't absorb it.
Yeah, right.
I live in like a very bizarre bubble. Like my co-stars are like, okay, if you don't watch movies and TV, what do you do? And I still don't really know the answer to that. I'm just like, I think I just think all the time. But but it was so fun because it was really fast. So we reviewed movies or TV shows from the day before, because it was called The Morning After, and we would do kind of like what you guys do, like, or like a soup kind of version for TV the night before. So we wouldn't start filming until late at night because we would watch the East Coast feeds of television. And we had a wonderful ragtag group of writers. And we would, so we would watch all of it and summarize it, and then, throw everything up on a teleprompter and then just do a bunch of jokes about it. And it was really fun because I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I know what happened on Game of Thrones. Like, I've summarized it. I've made jokes about it. I get the Bell reference for shame. Like, I know all of it, but I never, we just kind of sped through everything, and it was really fun. And my co-star Brian was really such a treat. And it was just like, I'm very, very grateful for that job. Yeah.
Also, there are so many versions of recapping shows for the next day, and I just want to shout this out now in case people don't know. Recapping television is exhausting. If you have to watch like even like American Idol and then write up like reviews of every single performance every day, guys, you are losing sleep. It's not a sustainable lifestyle.
I know. You have to find like little tricks. Like, you have to like scrub through, find a little nugget and be like, okay, that can link to a joke, or that's going to pop off. So I'll just focus on this thing. So sometimes we would have like, and we would work late through the night. So we would get really slap happy, but that was part of the fun.
I want to talk a bit about She-Hulk, which I loved. So shout out to that show, which I really did enjoy. And I haven't even been watching very many of like the Marvel TV shows, but I was obsessed with She-Hulk as a kid because I just loved how,
cool.
I loved how like and it was so interesting, like the comments from people who were like, when she would be talking to the camera and stuff, right? I'm like, she was always breaking the fourth wall in the comics.
Yeah,
so
well before Deadpool. Come on, Henry.
What was that like? Working with Tatiana Maslany, who is truly just one of the greats.
Yeah, talent mutant.
She is
talent mutant.
one of the greats. Yes.
And Megan Thee Stallion was in an episode with you.
God.
Okay, so tell me about the hottie.
Well, what I'm sad about, first of all, Tatiana is one of the greats, and she's this like quiet chameleon performer. So I think even though I knew going in, like, well, we had met each other before, and I knew she was a love, but I already know how dynamic she is, but she's such a vulnerable and generous and just lovely soul that I think some people can miss what she's serving, like how amazing she is, because she's not some weird narcissist. She's not giant, she's not walking around like with a weird entourage or something, even though she's delivering all of this amazing work. I love her so much. I'm so glad to have collected her as a friend, and I can't wait to see her in Grey House on Broadway.
I'm going. It look. I haven't got tickets yet, but I need to go. It's like a horror play on Broadway. Looks so good.
I can't wait. Yeah, we're all going to support her on opening night. But and then Megan Thee Stallion was awesome. Like, it's so funny to look at her, and she's so beautiful, and she's so amazing, and she's so powerful. And I remember like seeing her and like trying to get my dog to say hi to her dog. And then someone reminded me that she was 26 or whatever at the time. And I just felt like silly. Like, I felt like silly, like being around her, like being like, what? Like, how are you this like superstar? Like also you're 26 and you started so much earlier, and she is just like a force. And what I'm sad about is she had a much larger part, like so much got cut from the show, and it's expensive with the CGI, but she had a really, really funny thing with the character who played Dennis, where you see all of the date that she goes on. So it's the elf that's pretending to be her, and she's a really, really good actor. And so I'm sad that that's not in there. But yeah, she's amazing. And we all snuck on to set while she was dancing with Tatiana, who's an amazing dancer. And but yeah, Megan Thee Stallion, wow.
It's so good to hear that she's like a really like funny like actor. And that like she like is doing great. I'm seeing the movie she's in later tonight.
What is she in right now?
She did. It was originally called Fucking Identical Twins.
Yes, Josh Sharp. Yes, Aaron Jackson.
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah. So.
Is it a comedy?
It's a comedy.
Oh God, these boys are daffy. Get ready. Yeah.
Yeah. She's gonna slay it. I think she could do anything. I think she would. I think like. I could see her doing like really, really cool Oscar films in the future too. She's just like a true artist. Yeah.
Speaking of that kind of comedy, I underestimate that you are a Groundlings Second City and UCB alum, and it feels like that trickles throughout everything you do. It feels like those three things, like they trickle throughout everything you do. Like you find ways to like insert improv, etc. Is that like? Can you say you honestly been helped by improv, which I've argued for years is impossible?
Yes, I didn't do acting class. I took an acting class, and I was like, hey, this is lame. I hated everything about it. I think it took like 2, and I was like, what is this? And everyone was like, I just felt like it was like so weird and melodramatic. And I'm like, why? What? I don't know. It made me feel very odd. So I only really did Groundlings in Second City and some UCB. And I'm grateful. Like I went through Writer's Lab, I think, in the Groundlings program. And then and I didn't realize like you were supposed to like write for yourself. I was like, let me write for all my friends. Like I wasn't like writing for myself really. But they let me perform there on Wednesdays and stuff. And I'm so grateful. But the Groundlings especially is like the most invaluable thing that I've ever done. It's everything that I think anyone would ever need for acting. It's like, you know how to like make yourself look completely different, act completely different, let yourself be really ugly and weird, know how to let your comedy come from just like the humanity of how embarrassing and hilarious humans are, And I don't know, I looked up to all of those people. I would go to the Groundlings website when I was in high school and see how many of them were on SNL. And I really loved being in the Groundlings school.
It really feels like a lot of people have that reaction to acting class where they're in it and they're like, I'm supposed to be doing certain stilted things in order to be quote unquote in the scene. Whereas improv just teaches you, focus on that other person, get things out of them. Like it really directs you to do something specific.
Yeah. And to be free and to like really respond. And also it's caretaking. Like I did a lot of stand-up too. And when I first started, and stand-up is very like fend for yourself and whatever. Improv, you have to support everyone in order for all the jokes to land. And you learn how to save someone if something's dying. So it's all about like supporting and rescuing and it's a very like loving kind of comedy. And also just like for life, I would find myself in Groundlings, like calling everything out, because that's how, if you call things out, like as you hear them, it gets funnier and more specific. And I would always be like, I wish I would do that a little more in my life. Now, as you know, I do it too much all over my Instagram. But it's a good like human training for being like, I need to call things like I see it. Like when that happens, say it, see something, say something kind of thing in comedy. Yeah. Plus you get to act like weird little hags and wear wigs and stuff.
That does sound fun too.
So, I mean, you've done so much, comedy, improv, stand-up, and True Lies, I would say, was like, like it's an hour long series, I'm like, does drama interest you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of dramedy too. Like on HBO, I did like Duplass stuff, like Togetherness, and I got to do a musical version of Room 104 with Brian Tyree Henry, which was singing and crying and just over and over. And in Kidding, I'm very much my character is, her whole storyline is sad. And I wanted to like honor people's experience who were, who I didn't want to make a mockery of people who had cancer by just being like some sardonic character who like was kind of giving up on life. But so I cared very much for that character. And that's with, under Michel Gondry's direction, which was very freeing and beautiful and, surrealist. I mean, he's the best. I love him. He's when I did a scene and I'm just like crying with all these puppeteers looking at me and it's so beautiful. And he would just be classic Michel Gondry, even in those scenes. And he would come up to me and I would be like, oh no, he's going to give me, I didn't know what he was going to say. And he'd be like, I want to take tiny little potted plants and put them under your eyes, and then your tears will water them. And
wow, this is a man who has really directed some Bjork videos.
Yeah, I was like, can you make that for me, please? But he's made me really cute, like construction paper animations and stuff. And it is like the highlight of my career that I've ever gotten to know and work with Michel. And he actually took me to Bjork concert, which was really wild and awesome to see. I'm like sitting there with Michel. And it was actually, can I tell you the craziest thing? Bjork like walked into the center of the stage and she had this portion where she just sings "You Are So Strong" over and over. and she stopped and she like chose me and she sang it to me. And I was like, she just sang "You Are So Strong" on a loop over to me. And I was just like, is this happening? And is Michelle sitting next to me? And like, it was so fast. It was just an otherworldly experience, as you can imagine, because it was all Bjork visuals as well.
Also,
I mean, listen.
Making eye contact with Bjork, I mean, you should have disintegrated. I mean, like, what?
I was just like, I'm not going to leave the space. And then I was also questioning whether or not it was real. I was like, what is happening? But yeah, she had a lot of flutes in her show, too. It was fascinating.
I mean, you are in a collection of the greats. He's directed Bjork, Kate Winslet, Kylie Minogue.
Yes. Oh, please, that video. Yes.
Yeah, and he's hilarious. He's such a goofy Frenchman. I tell the story a lot, but the one time I've ever actually selfishly been like, no, I need you to film my coverage first, which is basically an actor being like, film me first, was during that crying scene because I knew I would have to cry all day. But it was mostly because I saw him getting distracted by a puppet. It was a puppet that looked like a baguette that had funny feet. And he was getting obsessed with the feet. And I saw him zeroing in, ready to be like, ooh, I want to film these funny little feet. And I was like, bro, you need to film me cry before you film the baguette puppet's feet. I'm just going to ask you for a solve this one. Like, okay.
The baguette's been moved to main cast. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're out, Ginger.
I mean, looking at your other credits too, is like I also realized that we have another connection in that Louis and I's friend Chris Schleicher worked on Champions, which you were on.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And that was such a fun show too.
I loved doing Champions. I love Anders, and that was a really fun. When you're in an ensemble like that, we were always in every scene together, and so we would like be in a pod, and you're like doing the scenes. There's like 10 of us, and then they would have to light for the next scene. So weirdly, the pod again would be like in a circle that they set up. So it was like the most social hang I've ever had. And it got to a point where I just turned it into this thing with Yasser and Fortune Feemster and stuff where I was like, let's see what kind of free stuff we can get. And we would tweet like Wetzel's Pretzels and like Chili's and just see if we could get like gift cards. And we got a free Chili's gift card during our downtime.
I was going to say, I have a friend in Chicago who tweeted at Chili's enough times, and now they send him little fucking gift bags. So you went to the right place.
Yeah, Fortune wanted Chili's. I got her Chili's, you know?
You should be up to your neck in Southwestern egg rolls. Yeah.
I know. I swear to God, I think she went like the next day too. Like she got him a photo, like the whole thing.
I think that was like a simpler, nicer time on social media where like you just, you got a blue check.
Yeah.
Just tweet and get some free stuff. Okay.
I know, the blue check thing is so weird. So, because now people buy them and then like, someone will follow you and you're like, oh, they have a blue check. And then you're like, oh, no, that's someone bought a check. It's not.
Oh, they're right the worst. Yeah, right. You have to retrain your brain. The conditioning is still all there. Yeah.
Someone tweeted that like blue check marks are like the new Ed Hardy or something. Like.
Yeah, right. You were once the in crowd and now you're at the wrong mall.
Like, ew, Von Dutch, get away from me.
Ginger, thank you so much for being here. Also, it's like you were born to podcast. You should be doing this all the time anyway.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm just trying to keep up with y'all's voices. They're beautiful.
Oh,
we run our scales before every episode. So.
Okay, so actually speaking of Prince Harry, writing a memoir and then having to reconfront all of his family members that he wrote about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of this little show that was on the WB called Glory Days, starring Eddie Cahill, and it was about a man who wrote a book loosely based on his friends and family from his small town. He returns home, and they all hate him because of what he said about them. He was very Gail Weathers writing the Woodsboro Murders.
Yes.
And Kevin Williamson created this series too. So,
amazing.
Very much that. But then he also starts solving murders.
Well, you got to have something to do.
In a small town.
Yeah, right. Got to pass the time.
But the murders are also all supernatural seeming, only they turn out to have a normal explanation at the end. So it's very Scooby-Doo.
I mean, that's exactly Scooby-Doo. Like, what are the 10,000 volts coming off this monster? Oh, wait, it's a lighting rig or something that you figured out because you're a sound engineer.
The thing I will always remember about this show is there's one episode where, like, someone was found in the woods with, like, 2 holes in their neck. And people were like, vampires. And then it turns out that there was this painter who was a serial killer and was draining the blood from his victims and painting with it.
This reminds me of what is both good and bad about the movie Birth with Nicole Kidman. You're trying to figure out if something supernatural is occurring, but you're not really clear on the world of the movie. Like, how can she believe in this if this is not the kind of thing that would ever happen if she is in fact living in our universe? And then it turns out to be, I mean, I won't spoil the movie, but you end up a little mad at the movie because it sets up a kind of supernatural world and then this other thing happens.
Isn't it a lot like that other Nicole Kidman movie, which I actually do love, but Stoker?
Oh, I mean, like, there's one amazing clip in that movie. You know the one I'm talking about where she's at that table. But yes, I guess there are some similarities there. The late 2000s for Nicole, mid to late 2000s, she was confused.
Well, anyway, this is us talking about things that we've seen that maybe we were the only viewer of, that nobody else has seen. I know nobody else was tuning in to Glory Days every week like I was. So I got canceled after, like, 6, 7 episodes? Also, Stoker might be one of those damn movies, too.
No kidding.
Did anybody watch that movie?
But by the way, Nicole Kidman's also this weird person where she has all these movies you don't remember, and then many of them were hits. Like The Interpreter. Who's the last person to watch that movie? It was like #1 at the box office.
Invasion.
There's a whole bunch of these, yes. A TV show I watched that nobody remembers. In 1995, we did a reboot of Get Smart, starring Don Adams and Barbara Feldon from the original. And I just want to say I fucking love Barbara Feldon, a game show veteran, won $32,000 on the $64,000 question, and once gave an interview about the rigged game shows of the 1950s and being like, who were they ripping off? If everybody signed up for it, why would it even go? She was basically saying, if everybody signed up to be part of, this duping, then nobody was fucked over ultimately. Anyway, something to think about. But anyway, in this version, it also starred Andy Dick and Elaine Hendricks, somebody who I feel like comes up time and again on Twitter because people love her in The Parent Trap. Maybe you love her in Superstar. She was also giving it on this Get Smart reboot, which lasted for, by the way, 6 weeks. And I know it was greenlit because it was absolutely slaying on Nick at Night at the time. I watched this every week. I was so obsessed with Get Smart. Don Adams, I just love like those comic people who there is something about them that is one of a kind no matter what. And his delivery that like missed it by that much. Like he's not copying anybody. It's like it's a little bit of like a Mel Blanc cartoon voice, but there's something specific about him that you couldn't, if he died suddenly, then you couldn't recast him with anybody who's comparable. He's just a fucking awesome comic actor.
I love Get Smart.
Oh, one of the great shows of the 60s. And, of course, the pilot was written by Mel Brooks. That's why he got his Emmy. That's why, if we're looking at his EGOT.
Yeah. I watched it on Nick at Night all the time as well. And honestly, the movie's kind of good.
It's been ages since I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was better than it deserved to be.
Right. Anyway, I would watch this show again. I'm sure it's terrible. I mean, if it lasted only a month and a half and it had the steam of the 60s still on it and it ended up being canceled, that is too bad.
So I want to bring up a show that I watched in the 90s. And when I worked on Uncoupled, I was working with one of the writers and producers of the show and one of the stars of the show.
Get Out. Not NPH.
This is...
Marsha Gay Harden?
No, Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember Stark Raving Mad?
I know those 3 words, and I can picture hearing it. Is it on, like, the NBC block of TV shows?
Yes, it is on the NBC block. It was during that era where they were trying to make hits out of shows by just sticking them after Friends.
Right.
This starred Neil Patrick Harris and Tony Shalhoub,
who, by the way, was in everything before he got Monk. You know what I mean? He would be ninth billed in every damn movie.
Yeah. He is a book editor and was paired with an eccentric writer. which is so funny to me because like NBC in the 90s was like, here's a show about a book editor, or here's a show about newspaper journalists. We talked about that with Mary Steenburgen, you know? It's like, or it's a Caroline in the City, you know, here's about a cartoonist, you know? Like
There was something very cosmopolitan about the print industry, yes.
Yeah. Also, Heather Dubrow from Real Housewives of Orange County now was on it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, she was an actress before she joined Real Housewives of Orange County. And famously in her first season, she takes the cast to set when she does a guest spot on Hot in Cleveland.
Oh, my gosh. Valerie Bertinelli, come back to Keep It. Wendy Malick, now is your time to come to Keep It. A show from that time that I watched, I think, every episode of, that doesn't come up anymore, but was so good. And it was the kind of show that was called underrated at the time. People really tried to get people to watch it. Working with Fred Savage. Did you watch that show? I
do remember it, but I never watched it.
It really had the feeling of something like Spin City. Like we're all in an office and everybody's like neurotic and over-functioning. But it was Fred Savage. Arden Mirren, who I love, was also in the show. Dana Gould was on it. Debbie Mazar was eventually on it. And also, this was another problem where Nick at Night, Wonder Years on Nick at Night was really popular, and they wanted to capitalize off that, so they eventually inserted Danica McKellar. And the only thing you should really insert Danica McKellar into is the Hallmark Network, so that didn't really work out.
Speaking of like that Glory Days thing I mentioned, right, where like the world is like, what is going on? There was a show on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2001 called The Chronicle.
Oh my God!
And
look
it
at
starred Chad Willett and Rena Sofer. Octavia Spencer is in this show.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Elaine Hendricks.
Wow, Elaine Hendricks, the queen of this episode of Keep It.
It is about a group of journalists at a tabloid newspaper. It's called The Chronicle. And they start to realize that the like monsters, aliens, and mutants that they write about at the tabloid are actually real.
Oh my God. What a specifically of that era idea. It's really shocking. Yeah. If I was watching sci-fi at that time, it would only be to watch Mystery Science Theater 3000, which I assume all those episodes end up holding up because they're just making fun of an old movie. There's probably timely pop culture references, but I bet that would be a lot of fun to revisit. There are so many episodes of that show.
I mean, that and Farscape is what I would always watch on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Of course.
I was a Farscape nerd. And also on the Sci-Fi Channel, there was a TV version of The Invisible Man that I watched.
I'm sure we've only had 24 more versions of that since. I have to shout out something for the game show community. There was a show on Saturday mornings on CBS, 1997 through 1998, about a 5-month run, Wheel 2000. It was a kids' version of Wheel of Fortune, hosted by Dave Sidoni, who I mostly remember from Roundhouse on Nickelodeon, which was sort of like a kids' version of In Living Color, where people would come in and everybody wore overalls and like kind of new hip hop moves. But I remember it also being distinctly pretty white.
That's one of those. I feel like maybe I watched some of it, but I feel like that's definitely one of those Gen X to millennial divides. Like you were watching Roundhouse every week, or you were watching like All That.
Yes. Oh yeah, All That I think ended up being the successor to Roundhouse, basically. But Wheel 2000 also had, instead of Vanna White, a cartoon kind of animatron woman named Cyber Lucy, who you would shout a letter. You'd be like, Ira goes, T, and then Cyber Lucy, with her pointy, like Sega Saturn-looking limbs, would be like, there are 2 T's! And then the whole audience would shriek. Meanwhile, it's just 2 T's. I don't want to be screaming. You know what I'm saying?
I love when you spoke in her voice, you actually just sounded like Mo to me.
Mo who?
Mo from Guts.
Oh, Maura Quirk. Yes.
Back to you, Mo.
Here I am reading the scores for 3 minutes. Yeah.
That was a wild show. And I want to say that I feel like they aired Global Guts more in reruns than they would air the regular Guts. I barely remember the regular Guts.
I
to be
know.
honest.
And by the way, the Global Guts was kind of stupid. I just wanted like
Yeah.
the original recipe where you kept almost watching kids drown or, fall over climbing plastic rocks.
Nickelodeon really did try to kill kids
Yeah.
in
Oh.
the 90s. People were always drowning on Hidden Temple. When those temple guards came out or would snatch the kids, you'd watch them and be like, are these guards allowed within 10 feet of a school?
No. Yeah, I'm worried. Because they have a lot of aggression going on. No, Double Dare, whenever a kid would, in the bonus round, would have to jump through the giant gumball machine in order to get to the
Yes.
bottom, I kept thinking, is this the last I'm going to see of this kid? What if they just get stuck in the machine? It's like quicksand in there.
I was talking to someone about Nickelodeon recently and about the fact that Nickelodeon really had us on like Double Dare watching kids dig into a nose
Right. No, they were
to
disgusting.
pull out flags.
Yeah. The taste was not... there was no glamour to be seen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll watch you dig through a waffle. I can't do the nose.
Anyway, I think that I will try to actually watch Roundhouse and see if it's still funny.
You know it's in all that situation where it's just loud and they're going for humorous.
It's like, do you remember Wienerville?
Oh, a show nobody talks about. Yeah, he was a puppeteer, Mark Wiener.
Yeah.
I remember, Boney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all those characters
No, the only thing I really remember from that era is Stick Stickly.
who
And-
slay boots.
And one time Nickelodeon used to do this thing called the Big, Help.
Oh, yes, I remember.
And I called in once and was on the air speaking to Lori Beth Denberg.
And your life peaked. I can't believe you even went on after that. Oh, my God. Comic legend. I remember Whoopi Goldberg doing commercials for the Big Help, and she said, if you're looking for ways to help, take the letters in your name and find words inside them that you can do. Like, I guess the words big help are in Whoopi Goldberg. Meanwhile, girl, I have 11 letters in my name, and like one of them's a V. I'm still searching. I have no idea what I could do.
Well, let me tell you something, Louis Verta with a V. You can vote.
V. I can. I'll pick up the phone and vote for exactly Crystal Bauer socks. And that's it.
All right. When we are back, Keep It. Our favorite segment of the episode, it's Keep It. Louis,
Yes.
what are you keeping this week?
I'm going for the melancholic once again. My keep it goes to The Passage of Time, which this is going to be a motif on this show because I don't know if it's about entering my late 30s, but I do not like how it passes. I find it suspicious and conspiratorial.
We're still in our late mid-30s,
Right.
Louis. So
Okay, I see a tear in your eye, and we're going to move right on. The Passage of Time is on my mind because I just saw photos and video of Jacob Tremblay at the premiere of Little Mermaid, and this is not a child. I am looking at this tall, thin, kind of refined-looking actor. It is giving Jesse Eisenberg the house down boots. And I remember when he was a child in the movie Room, which is already 8 years ago, which means Carol is 8 years ago, which means Brooklyn is 8 years ago, which means The Hateful Eight is 8 years ago. I can't control that I group movies by year. And I just don't recognize this person anymore. I saw a friend of mine tweet, it's like when you have a cousin at Thanksgiving who's 5, and then you don't realize you lose track of them, and then suddenly they're graduating from college, and you're like, I don't know anything about you, and you have a girlfriend who makes no sense, and you live in a completely different state or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Tremblay, just unrecognizable right now, and it's hitting me. It's really killing me. And also, there's pictures of him recording the voice of Flounder in this movie, and he is fully 1.5 feet shorter in these pictures. This is like this. They did this a lifetime ago. In fact, I'm sure all of these actors are sick to death of this movie at this point.
They're like, can we get out of the water, please?
Gee, yes, it's Titanic, it's Waterworld, yeah.
You know what I didn't realize? Jacob Tremblay was the voice of Luca.
Yes, a movie that I find very underrated. I thought it was
It's
very
so
clever
cute.
and cute. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
feel
also,
like
by the way, the creators of that movie being like, well, we don't know if there's intentionally a queer theme. Bitch, if one thing is intentional in this life, it is the queer undertones of Luca.
Yeah, I watched it on a plane and was sobbing. I had somehow missed it when it came out. But I think that is that's Pixar.
Yeah.
And what Pixar movie I still have not seen? Coco.
Enjoyed it. I thought there were some slow scenes. It's not in my top tier, but I did really like it. Weird that's the song that won the Oscar for me, but
Yeah. Should have been Say You, Say Me Again.
come right back. Every once in a while, they're like, you know what? We were really right that one time.
I think we've mentioned this before. This should really be like, it should be like RuPaul's Drag Race or something at the Oscars, where sometimes you can press a button. Someone gets like the ability to like change up the rules, and it's like, you know what? In this Best Actress race, we're actually going to be having someone else from like the 1992 ceremony enter the race now.
Right. Like the Bibi Zahara Benet or someone is like reinserted into the race. And so, you know, like Miranda Richardson, you get one more shot. Ira, what is your keep it this week?
My keep it this week goes to Succession.
Oh, no, that's a television series.
Yes. I'm the only viewer of this TV show.
Right.
By the way.
It's a boutique show. Yeah, they made it just for you. There's no discussion about it whatsoever.
Let me tell you something. The entire season seems to be taking about a week. As we know, Logan Roy died earlier in the season, and they haven't even buried the damn body yet. Like this is how much like time is passing. So when you're watching it week to week, you sort of have to remind yourself, like, oh, this is like right after the other, But it doesn't feel like that because there's a week in between episodes, and it doesn't end on like these like cliffhangers the way that like you do like the entire season of like True Blood was like 2 days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's just like it's going into night and then it's morning, whatever. This is just. Every episode now is about this deal with Matsson, Alexander Skarsgård, and girl, I am sick of it.
Boring?
I'm bored. I'm bored. I found the last 2 episodes extremely boring.
Wow. Well, I think they're battling the fact that the episode where he died was so good, and everybody got their specific Emmy-ready acting moment.
Yeah, it was amazing, and obviously, like the end of King Lear, when it happens, you have to like go into like this final act, but I think the final act being so long and laborious. It's just like this business deal. I'm like, I get it. I've seen business deals drag on. I've watched The Young and the Restless. But, people responded to me when I said that I was a little bored on Twitter. And they were like, well, like the whole season's only taken a week. And I'm like, well, let me tell you something. People write this show.
Oh, wow. You got on the picket line for this one.
It was not mandated.
Right.
That the entire rest of the season needed to take place over several days. Okay? We could have moved it along.
Yeah, right. I do have to say, I am not caught up on the show other than I see an episode here or there, and I watch it literally just because I enjoy the acting on it so much. But the after-show featurettes where you realize that Sarah Snook and Matthew Macfadyen sound nothing like their characters is just the I'm gooped of all time. Every time they speak, I'm like, these are traitors to society. They are aliens here to invade television with their crazy assimilation tactics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still enjoying the show, and it's still fantastic, It's just, it seems to be slow boiling towards, the finale, and it's just sort of, I want to wrap this. Come on, Buttercup. Let's wrap this mother up.
I will say about this show, I feel like if there's a boring middle segment, there's no way they're not going to ramp it up with an unbelievable finale. There's no way this show doesn't end unbelievably.
Oh, of course. No, it's going to be fucking amazing. And, it's going to be fucking amazing. And obviously, they knew where it was going. It was planned to be this. And there are moments that I really love. I love all the acting. I mean, Alexander Skarsgård is doing so great on this show, too. And you're slowly sort of revealing that he's an idiot as well. The other thing about the show is that Logan Roy was the smart one, and all of his kids are fucking stupid.
Right.
So now each episode is just real. It's like you know, it was like The Office where you would watch like people in uncomfortable situations. Now you're just watching all these idiots in uncomfortable situations, like trying to do business deals and trying to talk to people and like firing people and then having to rehire them. And it's just like, you're all dumb.
Right. Outside of what's her name? J. Smith Cameron. Jerry.
Yeah,
Yes.
You're all dumb. And maybe a moratorium after this on shows about like dumb rich people. You know, I think we get it.
I
don't
have to
think
concur on that front. I do feel like we've hit this note a little bit, and it was amusing, whatever, but that's the end of it. Yeah.
It's like we gotta do something else, you know? And I still enjoy The White Lotus, right? But like with the next season, I'm also like, are we gonna need more of these of like rich white people? You know, like HBO, we get it.
Also, insert like one or two genuinely sophisticated cast members. Like, who are the sophisticated people on TV nowadays? You know what I mean?
Where is the sophistication?
Right. You know, like when Eva Green and Daniel Craig are sitting, going tete-a-tete in Casino Royale, and there's a simmering sensuality, and nobody's stupid in that scenario. That's what I want. That.
Yes. Okay. Like the Hercule Poirots, the Columbos. Bring back real men.
Peter Falk is a real man. Actually, I think the internet would agree.
Baby, Peter Falk was a man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
And you know who knew it? John Cassavetes.
Yeah. Oh, baby. Cassavetes loved Peter Falk. Okay? And if you just, I'm looking at photos of Peter Falk right now. And
weird choice.
Well, it's like, let me tell you something. When he put on that ratty-ass raincoat.
Yeah.
That cigar between his hands.
Just one more thing. He's hot. It's my Columbo joke for all you Columbo heads out there. Well, that's our show.
Yeah, that's our show. So
cute episode, if you ask me. Should we review the episode after we do it every week?
I think people do that for us on Apple.
That's true.
I've never read them.
I am frightened of them. I will never look.
I've never read a single review, but you should like and rate and subscribe. Keep it on Apple Podcasts.
Because somebody responsible will read them, and they will have, better self-esteem than us, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And of course, full episodes available on YouTube, etc. Whatever. We say all that shit at the end of the episode. I don't know why I'm saying it now.
Right.
Thank you to Ginger Gonzaga for joining us. And Hollywood Studios, we're coming for you. I feel like I'm in Battlestar Galactica. We are coming for you. We'll see you next week.